Have you ever noticed that most of your problems feel bigger in the morning before you have even lived the day? And have you ever wondered why the same mind that promises change at night keeps repeating the same patterns after waking? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about Buddhist morning habits in a way that is grounded and usable. Not perfect monk life, not fantasy discipline, just the kind of morning training that quietly fixes many problems because it changes the causes that create those problems. Most people treat morning like a race. They wake up already late in the mind, already behind, already answering messages in their head, already comparing, already worrying. So the day begins from agitation and craving. And then they wonder why anxiety follows them, why focus breaks, why relationships feel tense, why motivation collapses, why they keep falling into the same habits. But Buddhist practice points to something simple and powerful. If you keep planting the same causes, you keep harvesting the same results. If you want different results, you must plant different causes. Morning is one of the easiest places to plant new causes because the mind is still soft and impressionable. It is like wet cement. What you step into early leaves prints that last for hours. Let me tell you a story that will make this real. There is someone named Kai. Kai is capable and intelligent. Kai has goals and even a decent plan. But Kai also has a constant background feeling that life is slipping away. Kai wakes up and reaches for the phone without thinking. The first thing Kai consumes is other people's opinions, other people's victories, other people's drama. Within minutes, Kai feels restless and slightly inadequate. Then, Kai rushes, skips breakfast or eats without awareness, talks to family with a tense tone, runs into the day scattered. Then later Kai tries to force focus, but the mind keeps jumping. At night Kai feels regret. Kai says tomorrow I will be different, but tomorrow begins the same way. Kai thinks the big problem is laziness, or lack of motivation, or bad luck, but the deeper problem is the morning pattern. The pattern is planting the seeds of distraction, reactivity, craving, and self-criticism before the day even starts. So the rest of the day is simply the harvest. One day, I hears an idea that sounds almost too simple. Most problems are not solved by one big heroic change. Most problems are softened by small daily discipline in the right place. And the right place is often the beginning of the day. So Kai decides to try Buddhist morning habits, not as rules to become morally perfect, but as training to become freer. Because freedom in Buddhism is not getting everything you want. Freedom is the ability to respond wisely instead of automatically. Freedom is the gap between impulse and action. And that gap is built through awareness. Now here is the key thing about Buddhist habits. They are not random lifestyle hacks. They are practices that shape the mind toward awakening wisdom, compassion, and steady cause and effect. They reduce suffering by reducing the conditions that create suffering. So let us walk through these habits in a way that feels like a day in real life, not as a list, as a lived sequence. Kai wakes up. The first habit is a deliberate pause before feeding the mind with the world. Kai does not grab the phone immediately. Kai sits up and takes one slow breath. That is it, just one slow breath. And in that breath, something changes. Kai feels the body. Kai recognizes that waking up is already the beginning of a new round of karma. New choices, new causes, new results. This first breath is not a performance. It is a return to the present. I return to the body. I return to the awareness that can observe thoughts instead of being dragged by them, because the mind will immediately start talking. It will say, check messages, check news, check what you missed. That voice is not evil. It is just conditioning. It is craving for certainty and stimulation. If you obey, it instantly will train the mind to be the boss. If you pause, you train awareness to be the boss. Kai breathes. Kai feels the weight of the body on the bed. Kai feels the air entering and leaving. For one moment, the mind is not chasing anything. For one moment, Kai is simply here. The second habit is gratitude, but not forced gratitude. Real gratitude that includes honesty. Kai remembers that breath is happening. That is not nothing. Kai remembers there is a chance to learn today. A chance to do one good thing. A chance to reduce suffering in some small way. Kai does not pretend everything is perfect. Kai simply recognizes that support exists right now. This matters because the mind is trained to scan for problems. That scanning kept humans alive in dangerous environments. But in modern life, it becomes a constant problem-finding machine. A mind trained only to find problems becomes anxious and bitter. A mind trained to also see support becomes resilient. So Kai lets a quiet appreciation appear, not loud, not dramatic, just simple. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for this morning. Thank you for another chance. The third habit is setting intention. In Buddhist language, intention is powerful because it shapes karma. Your intention influences your speech, your actions, your choices, your habits. Kai chooses one quality to practice today. Patience, or kindness, or discipline, or honesty, or humility. Kai chooses only one so it is not overwhelming. Kai does not say, I will be perfect. Kai says, I will practice. This is important. Practice means you will fail and return. Fail and return. That returning is the path. Kai gets out of bed. The fourth habit is water and body awakening. Not as a fitness obsession, as a mindfulness practice. Kai drinks water slowly and feels it. Kai does a small movement sequence, stretching or slow controlled movements. The point is not to look impressive. The point is to wake the nervous system without chaos. When you move the body with attention, you are training the mind to stay with one thing. You are also releasing stored tension from sleep. Tension is often the fuel for irritability and anxiety later. So this small movement is like clearing smoke before the day starts. Kai notices the mind wanting to rush. Kai returns to the body. This is a core Buddhist skill. Return to direct experience instead of living only in mental story. The fifth habit is simple cleanliness and order. This might sound ordinary, but it is deeply connected to mind. Kai makes the bed quickly. Kai tidies a small space, not for perfection, for clarity. Why does this matter? Because external disorder often mirrors internal disorder, and internal disorder creates stress. A small act of order in the morning becomes a message to the mind. I can care for my environment. I can create conditions for calm. I am not helpless. Buddhism is not only meditation, it is also mindful action. Washing the face can be practice. Sweeping a floor can be practice, because practice is about presence and intention. Kai goes to wash up. The sixth habit is mindful washing. Kai feels the water. Kai feels the hands. Kai notices the face. Kai notices the breath. This is a small meditation in motion. It trains attention. It trains simplicity. It trains the ability to be where you are. Most people think the day steals their attention, but actually they donate attention. They hand it away without noticing. Mindful washing is one way to stop donating attention to mind wandering. It is a way to reclaim the mind. Now Kai prepares breakfast. The seventh habit is mindful eating, or at least mindful first bites. Kai does not need to eat like a monk. Kai simply takes the first few bites without scrolling. Kai tastes, Kai choose. Kai notices hunger and satisfaction. This matters because the way you eat is the way you live. If you eat with rushing, you live with rushing. If you eat with awareness, you train steadiness. Also, mindful eating trains non-attachment. You can enjoy food without being possessed by it. You can appreciate without grabbing. This reduces craving. And craving is one of the roots of suffering. Kai notices that when eating with awareness, the mind feels less desperate, less needy, less restless. A calmer mind makes better choices later. After breakfast, Kais, it's for a short meditation. This is the 8th habit, a small daily sitting practice. Even if it is only a few minutes, Kai focuses on breath. Thoughts come. Kai notices. Kai returns. This is the gym for awareness. Every return is a repetition. Every repetition strengthens the ability to pause before reacting. This is how anger becomes less controlling. This is how anxiety becomes less loud. This is how self-doubt becomes less convincing. Kai learns something important. Meditation is not making the mind empty. Meditation is learning that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that can notice thoughts. And when you stop identifying with every thought, you suffer less. Kai finishes sitting. The 9th habit is a moment of ethical reflection, not heavy moral judgment. Just a simple question. What kind of speech will I practice today? What kind of action will reduce suffering today? Buddhist ethics are not about earning approval. They are about reducing regret and conflict. If you speak harshly, you create conflict. Conflict creates stress. Stress creates more harshness. It becomes a cycle. So Kai chooses one ethical anchor. Maybe it is to avoid gossip. Maybe it is to speak truth gently. Maybe it is to pause before sending messages. Maybe it is to be honest instead of performing. This small choice is powerful because it changes how the day unfolds. It changes relationships. It changes the quality of mind at night. Now Kai steps into the day. Here comes the 10th habit, a short plan with one priority and one compassionate boundary. Kai chooses one meaningful task to do early, before the day becomes noisy. And Kai chooses one boundary to protect attention. Maybe it is no social media until after the first task. Maybe it is phone in another room during study. Maybe it is one focused block without switching. This is not about being strict for pride. It is about guarding the gate of the mind. Because if the gate is open to every distraction, you cannot build depth. And without depth, you cannot build mastery. Now you might notice something. These habits are not separate tricks. They are one continuous practice of awareness, intention, compassion, and cause and effect. They are the morning version of the Eightfold Path, lived in simple forms. Right view is remembering cause and effect. Right intention is choosing a quality. Right effort is doing small practice. Right mindfulness is returning to body. Right speech and action as ethical anchor. Right concentration as focused block. All of it woven into ordinary morning life. Now let us go deeper into why this fixes many problems. Many problems are actually symptoms. Anxiety is often a symptom of living in the future and feeding uncertainty with constant stimulation. Procrastination is often a symptom of fear and discomfort avoidance. Conflict is often a symptom of reactivity and unmanaged stress. Low self-esteem is often a symptom of comparing and breaking promises to yourself. Financial chaos is often a symptom of impulsively uncraving. Even health problems can be worsened by stress and inconsistency. When you change the morning, you change the root conditions. You reduce stimulation early so the mind is less scattered. You add movement so the body is less dense. You add awareness so emotions are noticed earlier. You add intention so the day has meaning. You add ethics so you create less conflict. You add focus so you build competence. Competence builds confidence. Confidence reduces anxiety. And the cycle shifts. Let us return to Kai. After a week, Kai is not a new person. Kai still has moments of scrolling, still has moments of irritation, still has busy thoughts. But something has changed. Kai is noticing earlier. And noticing earlier is huge, because most suffering grows when you do not notice early. A small worry becomes a catastrophe because you feed it. A small irritation becomes a fight because you react. A small distraction becomes ours lost because you keep switching. Noticing early stops the chain. After a month, Kai feels something even deeper. Self-trust. Kai begins to trust that promises can be kept. Even small promises. One breath, one short sitting, one focused block, one kind sentence. This self-trust changes identity. Kai stops seeing the self as weak. Kai starts seeing the self as training. And training is a hopeful identity because it is never final. It is always becoming. This connects directly to Buddhist awakening. Awakening is not a trophy. It is waking up from unconscious patterns. Waking up again and again. Each morning is a chance to wake up. Now let us address the inner resistance that arises when people try morning habits. The mind will say, I do not have time. But often this is not about time. It is about priority and discomfort. The phone feels easy. Breath feels quiet. Quiet feels uncomfortable because quiet reveals what you have been avoiding. So the practice is not to force a perfect routine. The practice is to make it small enough that resistance cannot win. One breath, one intention, 1 minute of sitting, 1 moment of gratitude, one focused task. You can scale up later. But if you cannot do the small version, you are not building real discipline. Real discipline is portable. It works even on hard days. Now let us explore compassion in the context of morning habits. Because many people try routines with harshness. They wake up and immediately attack themselves. They call themselves lazy. They punish themselves. They demand perfection. This creates stress. Stress creates relapse. Buddhist practice teaches the middle way. Not indulgence, not cruelty. Balanced effort with kindness. So if you miss a morning, you do not collapse into shame. You begin again. If you scroll, you notice and return. The return matters more than the mistake, because returning is the training. This is why these habits are not just productivity. They are spiritual training for suffering and freedom. Now let us talk about relationships. Many problems people call relationship problems are actually nervous system problems. If you wake up flooded with stimulation and stress, you will speak sharply. You will interpret comments as threats. You will demand reassurance. You will be impatient. But if you wake up with a calmer baseline, one breath, one gratitude, one intention for kindness, your tone changes, your listening changes, your patience increases. That alone can prevent many conflicts. Kai notices this with family. In the past, Kai would respond with a tight voice in the morning. Now Kai pauses. Breath. Kai remembers the intention, kindness. Kai speaks slower, not perfect, but better, and the whole house feels different. This is cause and effect again. Small causes create big outcomes over time. Now let us talk about destiny. Many people think destiny is something that happens to them, but a large part of destiny is built by habits. Habits shape skills. Skills shape opportunities. Opportunities shape life. If you practice focus every morning, you become a focused person. Focused people learn faster, create more, waste less time, make better decisions. Those decisions shape life outcomes. If you practice kindness every morning, you become a kinder person. Kinder people create safer relationships. Safer relationships create support. Support creates resilience. If you practice awareness every morning, you become less reactive. Less reactive people avoid many unnecessary mistakes. Avoiding mistakes is not boring. It is freedom. So morning habits are destiny habits, not because they guarantee success, but because they change the kind of person you become. And the kind of person you become changes what you can handle. Now I want to share another story because some of you will relate differently. There is someone named Noor. Noor has a busy life. Noor cannot do long routines. Noor has responsibilities early. So Noor chooses the smallest version. Noor wakes up and takes one breath. Noor whispers a simple intention: patience. Noor drinks water. Noor takes 10 slow steps with awareness. Noor does 1 minute of breathing while standing. Then Noor begins the day. This tiny routine looks like nothing, but after a few weeks, Noor notices something. Noor reacts less. Noor feels less overwhelmed. Noor feels more choice, and that choice is everything. Because when you have choice, you can improve anything. When you have no choice, you repeat everything. Now let us address another common misunderstanding. People think these habits work only if you feel calm, but often you will not feel calm at first. You will feel restless. You will feel resistance. You will feel boredom. That is normal. Boredom is often the first layer that appears when you stop feeding stimulation. If you can sit through boredom, you reach depth. If you escape boredom, you remain on the surface. Most people live on the surface and call it normal. But surface living is exhausting. Depth living is steadier. So when Kai sits for a few minutes and feels bored, Kai does not call it failure. Kai calls it training. Kai stays. And over time, boredom becomes less threatening. The mind settles faster. Focus becomes easier. Now let us connect this to the Buddhist idea of non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop being possessed by craving and aversion. Morning habits train non-attachment because you practice not obeying every urge. The urge to check the phone, the urge to rush, the urge to complain, the urge to postpone practice. Each time you do not obey instantly, you loosen the chain. Chains are built from thousands of small obediences. Freedom is built from thousands of small pauses. This is why morning habits can fix many problems, because many problems are chains. Chains of impulse, chains of reaction, chains of distraction, chains of self-criticism. The morning is where you can begin cutting the chain daily. Now I want to bring in a deeper reflection about compassion and forgiveness, because many people wake up carrying yesterday. Arguments, mistakes, embarrassment, regret. A Buddhist morning habit can include a brief forgiveness practice, not as denial, as release. You can say internally, I am willing to learn and begin again. You can also extend goodwill to others without approving harm. May we all be free from confusion. May we all suffer less today. This changes the heart tone. I softer heart makes wiser choices. I hard heart makes defensive choices. Defensive choices create conflict. Conflict creates suffering. So even a few seconds of goodwill in the morning can prevent many harms later. Now let us talk about the practical pressure of modern life. Notifications, news comparisons, deadlines. These things are real. So the goal is not to live in a bubble. The goal is to choose the order of input. If the first input is chaos, the mind becomes chaotic. If the first input is breath and intention, the mind becomes steadier. Then you can handle chaos with more wisdom. Kai chooses to delay external input, not forever, just until the mind is anchored. That simple delay becomes a protective boundary, and boundaries are part of wisdom. Now I want to close with a reflection that creates the strongest resonance. Most people do not need a new personality. They need a new morning cause. Because if you change the cause, you change the result. If you keep starting the day from craving and distraction, you will keep living from craving and distraction. If you start the day from awareness, gratitude, intention, and small discipline, you will gradually become someone steadier. And steadiness fixes many problems. Because steadiness means you are less likely to say the cruel thing, less likely to waste the whole morning, less likely to spiral into shame, less likely to quit early, less likely to chase approval, more likely to do the next wise action. This is not dramatic, it is powerful. So, here is the invitation. Tomorrow morning, do not try to do everything. Choose one breath, choose one intention, choose one small act of order, choose 1 minute of sitting. Choose one focused task before distractions. Then repeat. Over time, your life will show you the result, not because the universe is bribed, but because you change the causes you plant. Thank you for being here with me today. Share in the comments what your mornings are like and what is the biggest obstacle: phone distraction, rushing, anxiety, or low motivation. And share the smallest morning practice you are willing to try tomorrow. Support the channel by subscribing, liking, and commenting, so we can keep building long-form teachings that help you train awareness, wisdom, compassion, and steady cause and effect. Take care of your morning, because your morning shapes your destiny. And I will see you in the next one.